OnlyFans, boasting over 400 million users worldwide, and of that, 4 million are creators. There is a tidal wave that is taking place in the younger generation and or across all generations for access to pornography. 70 to 80%, depending what reports you read, of the content on OnlyFans is sexually explicit. That means everyday people like you and me are out there exposing themselves online to generate a little bit of extra income. There is such a false narrative, a damaging and dangerous one to OnlyFans. Young girls and women are being sucked into becoming creators and at the risk of their own safety, but more so their integrity and dignity. And the reality is this: an average creator on OnlyFans makes $180 a month. Not a lot, right? Not a lot to consider when you've exposed yourself and publicly put it on the internet where it cannot come down. It will forever be out there. And we have a generation being raised with this over sexualization being normalized and thinking that this is a perfectly good career choice to make. And so, as Christians, I want to talk about it. Let's talk about OnlyFans, the narrative that is being spun and pushed, the way in which they agencies recruit young girls to be the next OnlyFans creators. Let's talk about the impact it's having on our boys and on our girls and what it's doing to society as a large. And so I got Victoria Sinis to come on, and she shares her story, how she came as a OnlyFans agency recruiter to encounter Jesus and to be radically transformed, and now dedicates her time to raise the awareness of the impact of OnlyFans and what it is doing to this next generation and for all of us as we navigate this cultural landscape. I hope you enjoy this episode. Make sure you subscribe.
Victoria, thank you for coming on. It is such a pleasure to have you on, and I'm so excited for our listeners to hear your story. So
Thank you so much for having me.
well, let's just get stuck straight into it. Can you tell me, how did you encounter Jesus and what kind of life was he pulling you out of?
So let's take it back to almost 2 years ago now, where my background is in startups and business and marketing. And I was actually working for a friend, helping her build her hospitality businesses. And so we were working these crazy 100-hour work weeks. It was brutal, right? For months and months on end. And I was like, I need a holiday. So I think it was 2022 or 2023, I went overseas to Europe for a month because I was like, I need to chill. Excuse me. And while I was overseas, I actually had another close personal friend of mine decide that they were going to start this new business called an OnlyFans agency. And the reason why they had decided that they were going to start this business is they already had people that they knew in OnlyFans. These people were quite, I guess, famous in quotation marks. They were very successful. And they were complaining about their agencies. And so when I came back from Europe, my friend was like, hey, we've started up this business. They had an exceptional educational background. There was girls, obviously, that were already in OnlyFans, and they were like, you're the only one, though, that's really got business, background and marketing background. Would you be interested in helping us to build this business? And so my lens was like, yes, I can't work 100 hours a week anymore. I can't do it. I need out. But then my honest lens as well was like, oh, OnlyFans, I've not really heard of that before, but I think that it's liberating. I think that, sorry, not that I've not heard of it. I've heard about it everywhere, but I didn't really know what it was, right?
Yeah,
Everyone
you're not on it. You don't know. You only know what's been drip fed, right?
Yeah. And so I was like, well, I guess that it's empowering and liberating, and you make a lot of money on it. I think that people just sell their feet on there. I don't really know. And so I was like, okay, sick. This seems like something that's going to make us a lot of money. It seems like a good idea. Why not? Right. And so I quit working with one of my friends to go work with another friend. And we kind of started this journey of building this OnlyFans agency. And so we can either, if you want, like I can just go straight to the Jesus stuff, or we can talk about like what actually is the agency. It's totally up to you.
Well, I was going to say maybe actually, because here I am, we're talking about OnlyFans and we're assuming, like I'm assuming that people know what we're talking about, but there's a really good chance that a lot of my listeners don't know what I'm talking about. So maybe you could give us a quick brief. What is OnlyFans? Because
Yeah,
I don't know how to explain it properly. I know what it is, but I
it
just get
is
angry explaining it.
enigma, isn't it? That's why
Yeah.
it's so important that we are having these conversations because, yeah, for me, it felt like it was just this term that's like been interjected into our culture and it's everywhere and everyone hears about it and everyone's on it. But again, what actually is it? And I think that that's so deceptive, right? Because then that's why we make really poor decisions.
Yeah.
And then it's that narrative of I wish I knew what I was getting into, because that was my story. And so OnlyFans, I think that it's quite interesting to understand the backstory and the context of OnlyFans. Um, for people. So and I'm learning more about it, right? So back in 2016, OnlyFans kind of came into the scene. And OnlyFans, I thought the original intent of it was to like decentralize social media and is a way to be able to monetize your platform, which is a lot easier than obviously at the time it was kind of like Instagram and Facebook, right? And
Mm.
so, and especially in that influencer era, it's still kind of not the easiest thing to build and monetize a platform. So OnlyFans comes about, and basically you can have your niche of whatever it is that you like to do. So just say, I love to bake. Well, I can jump onto OnlyFans and I can start to bake every day for people. I can put up recipes, but it's all behind a paywall. So every single piece of content can be locked and paid for. So then I can start making money off my baking. But the whole allure of it is that we do all of our messaging directly to each other. So obviously on like Instagram and stuff like that, it's a lot in the comments and we do have direct messaging, but it's not as mainstream, right? Where on OnlyFans, all of the conversations are done in direct message. And so
Mm.
with that, um, meant that they also had this thing on OnlyFans called not safe for work content. Not safe for work content means porn. So now where you can jump onto OnlyFans, so you can start to direct message people. You can send them whatever content that you want. And we actually see in 2020, it blew up as a porn platform. So I've seen statistics anywhere from 70 to 98% of all content on OnlyFans is not safe for work content. So now we know predominantly, like people aren't jumping on OnlyFans to bake. Like it's just not a thing,
Yes.
right?
It's
It's
not
porn.
happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
quite interesting as I've been speaking about this more, I'm learning that OnlyFans as well in the early days were actually going to porn conventions and paying people to sign up for OnlyFans accounts. So yeah, I had like a personal friend who used to be in the porn industry. I don't know if she was in the porn industry at this time or if she was going there to evangelize, but said that there was like an OnlyFans counter at this porn convention and they were paying people $100 to sign up to OnlyFans. So I thought that it had like innocent intentions to begin with, but I'm
Yeah.
not too sure now. But all of that to say, it is now a direct messaging platform where people can post their porn. And the whole allure of it is this personal connection with, that Instagram girl or that celebrity. And I can now talk to them and build a relationship and ask them to do anything that I want. Like crazy. So that's what OnlyFans is.
And it's important for people to realize that even though it's porn, we think, oh, over 18s, the issue is it's not a regulated, like,
Yeah.
how are they going to maintain the age and the demographic of who's going on there? So
Yeah.
there's,
Yeah,
there's all
totally.
that, which I'm sure we'll get into the weeds of that later. But important to note to people, like, don't be naive. It's not just adults that are on there, unfortunately.
Yep. That's huge.
Mm.
Definitely.
Yeah. So you became, so this agency started because you have like, well, I guess big name OnlyFans people that are
Mm.
needing managers, or
Yep.
you're just trying to recruit more for OnlyFans as well. Did you guys work for OnlyFans, the platform, or was it a third party kind of
Yeah.
operation?
So OnlyFans agencies are super underground because if people, so like OnlyFans doesn't specifically like partner or endorse agencies. Because if you think about it, what we're doing is agencies are impersonating the girl. So they pretend to be the girl on the OnlyFans model, their behalf. to make money. So the whole point of an agency. So if we think about this, of just say you're Instagram influencer and you have like 500,000 followers, right? And you're trying to funnel, because we have to look at this through a business lens.
Mhm.
If you're trying to funnel, you know, your hundreds of thousands of followers from your Instagram to your OnlyFans, we now know that the main allure of OnlyFans is that we're direct messaging each other, and you're sending content and you're direct messaging and you're sending content. So if you think about this logistically, can someone sit there and facilitate thousands of conversations 24/7, 7 days a week with different time zones, all the different things? No, absolutely not. But if you want to maximize your profits, you are going to then offset that work, give it to someone else, and let them make money on your behalf. And so that's where agencies come into it.
Right. So how
Yeah.
many people are working in agencies? Like, are they just
Um,
bots that are having these conversations?
I think now more so it would be AI. I know at
Yeah.
the time we were looking at how could we create some sort of AI and train it. The only thing with that is that a robot, maybe now, it will never replace a human. So what you would do though
Mm.
is it wouldn't be us, like Australians or, first world country people,
Mm.
because that's too
Offshore.
expensive.
Yep.
So you literally hire people. A lot of the time, they're these things called chatters. So they're either from India, or ours were from the Philippines, and it's cheap labor. So a lot of the time, not talking to the girl, you're talking to some guy in the Philippines that's paid anywhere from 1 to 5 USD an hour. And their job is a commission job. So their role is to sit there 6 to 7 days a week, anywhere from 12 to 16-hour days, and they impersonate multiple girls, and we train them in this thing called the girlfriend experience. And that's literally their job is to exploit men, and to make as much money off them as possible, pretending to be OnlyFans girls.
Right.
Yeah.
This is
Ah,
wild.
it's
This
crazy.
is like, there's so many ethical considerations that people probably don't even think about in regards to then, like, we're exploiting people in developing nations and opening them
Yeah.
up to a whole lot of, like, there's just so much to it. So, but anyway, so yes, so you find, say, your top influencer, you recruit them to go onto OnlyFans, saying, we'll manage your OnlyFans account, but you just give us the content, like the images, the videos, and then we'll manage your relationships and growing your account. And then we take a cut, you get your cut. That's how it works, kind of thing. Is that
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. So the agency takes a percentage, OnlyFans takes a percentage, and then the girl's left with whatever.
Yeah. Okay. And so, I mean, we're talking here and we're making OnlyFans sound like it's very easy to make a lot of money on there. But I know, have you got the data on that? Like, I know statistically it's
Yeah,
not.
it's the average wage of an OnlyFans creator is $180 a month. And there was even another study that I saw, I think in 2022, there was 2.1 million content creators on OnlyFans, and only 300 of that 2.1 million made more than $1 million a year. And so
300 at 2.1.
like, this is what people don't understand is, like, it's so competitive, what you have to do, and that's why I'm like, people think that, yeah, well, I can just jump on here and maybe I can just, like, post a bikini pic and make money. No, it is so competitive, then, like, that's a thing in itself, but if you think about this, if you're jumping on OnlyFans and you're going, "Oh, I can just post some photos and no one's gonna know." Well, where are you marketing this to? Because we have to remember my role was marketing. So OnlyFans doesn't have like a feed where you promote and then you find, like, you have to be doing outwards promotion to pull people into it, right? So if you're not
Mm.
promoting your account, then you're posting all of this content, then you're getting a little bit more desperate now because you're like, "Oh, I posted a bikini photo, but I'm not getting, maybe I have to do more. Maybe I do have to post it. Maybe I have to share a link. Maybe." And then it's this like process of escalation. And then imagine for so many, I can't imagine how many hundreds of thousands of women have gone about this process, then posted hardcore, full on pornography on OnlyFans, then been humiliated because they're told their only worth and value is how much money they can make from getting naked. Then they don't make any money from it. So then they're like, well, I don't have any value. They try to delete these accounts. It's on the internet forever. And I was in a conversation last week with a friend who goes into the low end brothels in Sydney. And the reason I say low end for people, just for context, is sex work is legal in Australia. So we have like 7, 8-star brothels and they're legal. Um, and so the low end ones are the dodgy ones is what I mean
Yeah.
by that. Um, and
Brute
she goes,
force
the
labor.
amount of yeah. And she's like, the amount of women that I meet in these brothels, and this is their story. They went on to OnlyFans, they didn't make any money, and then they get desperate. So then they're like, well, maybe I'll go work in a brothel. And then their confidence is like shattered because they have to then go to these like low end brothels to try and make money. And then now they're in these really horrific
Oh,
situations.
it's
And so,
horrible.
yeah, people don't understand the ripple effects and the consequences of OnlyFans. OnlyFans is now like this weird gateway drug. Like the amount of girls that will do OnlyFans and then, well, why wouldn't I go escort? Why wouldn't I go become a stripper? Why wouldn't I go do topless waitress? Like whatever it is. It just opens up to a whole world of just being, sexual exploitation.
It's desensitization, isn't it? And it
Mhm.
is, and it's actually the worst way because by that stage you generally have already given up everything online. So, you've become numb to it. Or you're just drip feeding that lie to themselves constantly that this has to be empowering and that I can be worth more, it's just not my time to shine. It's so heartbreaking. So not what God intended. Ugh, um, I just can't help but want to cry for these women. They've just been made with such beauty and with purpose, and it's such a lie that's been led to believe.
Yeah.
So back to your like agency. So you would do the marketing. So you would help get these girls new followers and people onto their OnlyFans platform.
Mhm.
How would you recruit though? Like, would you be looking for people that are already quite influential? Would you be looking just based on looks? What does that
Yeah.
look?
So at the time when I was working at the agency, what we had come to realize is there was a girl that we had who we would lie and say that she was fresh 18. She was older, but she made the most money. And so as we were kind of in this world, like the dark web, looking at all this crazy stuff, we'd come to realize that the most top searched porn categories was teen, fresh teen, and barely legal. And so
Mm.
kind of drew that correlation of, wait a minute, the girl who we say is the youngest makes the most money. And then we're seeing that the top porn categories is all of this young porn. Okay, well, let's start to look for girls on TikTok and on Instagram that, number one, the most important thing is already posting provocative content. Because if a girl is already posting sexualized content, it means that she's probably either got an OnlyFans or she's more likely to be coerced into doing something like OnlyFans. And so then from there, you would see, is this girl posting, revealing photos? And then how old does she look? Because you would want someone that would look young. And then there was, sometimes a following requirement, but generally they were the two markers. Does she look young and is she posting sexualized content? And literally, we had a agency account, and of course, you're not sitting there being like, "Hey, we're an OnlyFans account." Like, you'd be like, modeling how, like model management to maximize earning potential, like something, like a
Yeah.
weird like that. But we were legitimately throwing lavish parties. We would like hire out multi-million dollar mansions and get yachts and have the luxury cars. We would have these dinners. We would hire out mansions for like
Interesting.
photo shoots and stuff like that. And so we're promoting this lifestyle and we're saying, do you want to be a part of this sisterhood? Do you want to come to these parties? Well, you can be a part of this. You can have all of this. So just come to our agency. And so we would message girls from this agency account of like, look at this lifestyle, and so that would entice people. Or if you really wanted a girl, you would actually get the owners of the agency who were pretty famous in OnlyFans to directly message them. Because if you think about that psychologically, imagine if you've got blah blah with hundreds of thousands of followers who supposedly has this elite lifestyle and she's messaging me. She's
Yeah.
wow,
She's
I must be
essentially
special.
me.
Yeah. Yeah, and so that's how you would recruit girls, just direct messaging them from these accounts, promote this lifestyle, make them feel special, sell them this pipe dream that you're gonna make all this money, and then that's how you get them to sign up.
And none of this is illegal, hey?
I don't know. To be honest with you, I don't
Ethically, yeah, but, like, it's not
ethically, but technically, legally, no. So,
no.
okay, one of the agency owners was actually an ex-criminal defense lawyer, so they knew the law. So that's why people have asked about, like, did you ever hire, like, well, did you ever recruit under 18 girls? And it's like, no, we weren't like
You
as
weren't dumb.
we weren't dumb enough to do anything illegal. But again, morally, what is this? And then unfortunately, of course, there are agencies, there's so many that exist in the world that don't have a moral compass, that are targeting. I personally knew someone who had intentionally set up an OnlyFans agency in Brazil to target the lower economic women, because they were like, well, the majority of them are really beautiful, they're really poor, and they're really desperate. So then I can get them all to be at my agency, and make money off them. So, it gets messy.
Wow, it does, it really does, and hearing all this, you can see how the reason why I want you on and have got you on is because I'm a mother of 2 girls and 2 boys. They
Mm.
are really young still, but I am seeing even their friends in year 2, some of them are having social media, which to me
Oh
is
my gosh, that's
wild,
crazy. Yeah.
wild, and I'm like, "This is not okay." Children, are being groomed,
Mhm.
particu like, there I mean, the agency you were at may not have targeted young kids, but there are nefarious evil people out there that do target these, you look at these accounts where they're like 12, 13, 15, 16-year-old girls that are like just innocently dancing and doing things. And then, as they get older and they go through puberty, they start posting pictures of themselves in a bit more like promiscuous, midriffy tops or like bikini top, and it's all innocent, it's all fun. But as they get more attention, that's when you see these kind of groups coming alongside and slowly, targeting these girls and leading them
Yeah.
down this deceptive route of, wow, you're so loved and you're so wanted, and you can become really a big influencer. You can see how enticing it is. Like if you're saying you've got these big parties to give them this illusion of what life will be like. My goodness, can you imagine doing that with a teenager?
Yeah.
Uh, I can only imagine. I can't I'm so grateful I didn't have that when I was growing up.
I think, like, the most excellent example of this type of stuff is two things that I think about. I think about Piper Raquel, who, do you know who
Yes.
she is?
Yeah.
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 And
Yeah.
it's this poor sweet girl has been so
What's the
sexualized.
documentary? Uh,
It's like Kidfluencers or something on Netflix.
yeah, but anyone listening to this, you have to go watch that documentary.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
cried. I just
What's
went,
it called?
"This is."
And people can go look it up.
Yeah, that's a good idea because it's a documentary that follows this YouTuber, this mum who sets up her daughter's YouTube channel, and you just follow their whole trajectory, and it's just gut-wrenching. And
Yeah.
now this young girl has her own accounts, and now she's started doing, I don't know if she's on OnlyFans, but I know she's had, like, people can access her privately, and she sends promiscuous-ish stuff.
It's so evil. It's called Bad Influence: The Dark Side of Kidfluencing. And
That's it.
what you're talking about, exactly. And then I talked to so many young girls about the Bop House and like, not so much Piper Raquel, sorry, because I didn't know who she was until the documentary, but Bop House. Because now the Bop House girls have taken Piper Raquel on. And
What's
she
the Bop House? I don't know the Bop House. You need to tell me that
Okay,
one.
so Bop House is this girl named Sophie Rain. Sophie Rain is one of the biggest OnlyFans girls in the world right now. She is a, in quotation marks, Christian virgin OnlyFans girl who has, I think, 43 I think she made like $43 million on OnlyFans last year, like stupid. And she started this thing in LA called the Bop House. So the Bop House, last time I checked, had like 4 or 5 million TikTok followers. Like, it's massive. And it's a bunch of girls that look like children. They literally look 12 years old, and they make all this childlike content, and they have all this drama. Everything that you see in the kidfluencing thing, they have copied and pasted that format, and they do it in an OnlyFans house, but they make all this really silly kiddie content. that's targeted at girls to entice them to want to be bop girls. And like they open up the bop house for registration and like do all this crazy stuff, but they're all OnlyFans porn creators. And Piper Raquel like hangs out with them now and does content with them, and they do dances together. And so like that's a
This
huge
is
one that I speak
wild.
about. Yeah, and young girls of like, do you understand that this is a grooming tactic? You're being softly influenced to be desensitized to this, to watch. You love it. You love the drama of the bop house, and you love the girls, and you think it's so funny. And you see their outfits, and you see the rewards and the likes and the houses, and you go, oh, like I've had 15-year-olds tell me that the only way they think they can be happy and travel is to do OnlyFans. And it's because of what we're portraying digitally for them, to have them say, okay, well, if I want to achieve my dreams, well, I guess the stepping stone to achieving my dreams is to do OnlyFans, because look at all these other girls that I follow and that's what they do.
It's wild. And this is it's so messed up. Like, how do you combat that? Like, how do we like do we just I mean, can I lock my daughters up in a cage? Because I will. Like,
I was having this conversation actually this morning with my father. And I think because he does a lot of stuff with parents and young boys and tells them, why do you let your kids have phones? And I say, no, 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 no. I love to use like a dieting analogy, I guess, of um, how do you learn to eat a slice of cake and not eat the entire thing, right? So with kids, it's not how do you restrict them, because then when they're going to get it, they're going to consume the whole thing, right?
yeah. Yeah.
How do you teach them of, hey, you can have a slice, but man, if you eat the whole thing and if you consistently do that, it's not going to be good for you. It's going to hurt you. And the
Yeah.
thing is as well, they're going to go to the friend's house and the friend's going to have all this type of chocolates and lollies and all the fun things there, and you can't monitor it. So it's the same analogy with the phone of your children are going to be exposed to technology. It is a non-negotiable in our society today. And it is naive of parents to believe that they can totally digitally protect their children. I've had parents, unfortunately, tell me that hackers have gotten into the school laptops and actually shown porn to young children through school. So how are you going to facilitate these conversations? Because unfortunately, and it's not a doomsday, but we need to be honest, it's not if it happens, it's when it happens, because it is going to happen. So how
Is it age 8 is now the average age for a child to be exposed to porn?
I think it's 8 or 9 years old is the average age of pornography exposure. It's an important thing for parents. I don't think that parents can have this, in quotation marks, luxury anymore of not being involved and active with their children, And so it's how do we then as parents create a framework for our children to know that if and when they are exposed to pornography, that mum and dad are safe people to talk about these things with. And so we can go through all the different age brackets. And I love, even with like young children, I'm talking like 6 years and down, because again, this is really more like hard to hear, I guess, as parents, but something that we have to understand is what is now growing as well is actually sibling on sibling abuse with young kids through porn exposure. And I've actually personally met young men that have said that this is what has happened to me. I've met young girls that have said my brother has done these things to me because of porn. And so the reason I say this again is not to doomsday, but I hope parents can understand the weight of this and understand that for your little children, your 4, 5, 6-year-old, that if you can try and give some language to this stuff, you can potentially negate a lifetime of pain for your child by having that hard conversation. So an actionable and tangible thing for any parent that's like, I'm so overwhelmed. There's a book you can buy and it's called Good Pictures, Bad Pictures. And
Yes.
it is fantastic. And I've heard parents that have said that something will pop up on a screen, or like they've been on Spotify and something inappropriate and they've heard their kid shout, Mom, there's a bad picture on the screen. And then they've turned around, they've turned it off. Thank you so much. Do you want to talk about that? How did that make you feel? And it's having age appropriate conversations of, hey, if you're ever on the iPad, if you're ever on a phone, if you're ever on, insert device, and you see something and maybe in your tummy, it doesn't make you feel very good. Maybe it makes you feel a little weird or unsure, or And because the thing is, kids can get exposed to anything nowadays. It might not even be porn. It might be, the horrific videos of what happens to people overseas and getting tortured and like all the like guys, the internet is wild, unfortunately. And so how can we frame these conversations of if you see anything on a device, if you're here, if you're with a family member, if you're with a friend, whatever, and it doesn't make you feel good, you're not in trouble. I'm not going to get mad at you, but I want you to talk to me. And then if you catch your child consuming pornography, as hard as it is, but this is why we need the tools beforehand as parents, don't freak out. What are you
Mm.
doing? What is that? Get off. Like, no, 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 no. Because then they're going to go into shame. And then
That's
it's
right.
going to make him feel a type of way because, of course, porn. And then it's, oh, well, what was that made me feel? So I want to, but I know mom and dad aren't going to, and they're going to have questions. So there's that route. And then I, for a small period of time, was doing Christian sex ed. And we were going into all faith-based schools, right? Teaching about, God made our bodies very good. And so all the feelings that you have and all. And do you know the amount of kids that will end up accidentally watching pornography because they're curious about puberty? Like,
Mm.
just basic stuff of like, because people say, well, why do kids need to know this? And I remember there was a workshop that was done. I wasn't in this, but one of my coworkers was explaining that to like 7, 8-year-olds. They're talking about wet dreams and erections, and as they're talking about this in this workshop with a bunch of little boys and girls, this little boy puts his hand up and goes, "Oh, that's what that is. That happens to me all the time." And all his little friends go, "Yeah, me too." So do you see already by basic anatomy, basic education, basic frameworking, that little boy maybe is having all these changes in his body because that's a normal age to go through. But if he doesn't feel that he is a safe adult to talk to these things about, he's going to Google it. And what do you think he's going to find? And
Yeah.
so and not to I just hope that I'm framing a lot of different narratives for parents to try and encourage you guys that this isn't scary. There's a lot of actionable things you can do. If you are faith-based, start with the simplicity of, do you know that God made everything? And he says it was good. But then he looked
Mhm.
at us and he said that we're very good. So you are very good. Your body is very good. All your feelings that you feel, they come from God and it's okay and they're natural and they're normal. We talk about them. And then that's how when they see something and they go, I don't know, that made me feel a little, that's okay. There's no shame. There's no
Work through
condemnation.
that.
Let's talk about it. So I'm hoping that's some very tangible things to not overwhelm parents with this very heavy
Yeah.
conversation. Like you can be championed, to have these conversations with your young kids.
Yeah. There's some great resources like that book,
Mm.
Bad Pictures. What is it? Bad,
Good pictures, bad pictures, yeah.
yeah, thank you. And then Patricia Wirikoon's got a whole series on like speaking about sex, pornography, your body, gender, all that sort of stuff.
Mm.
There's a lot of resources out there, like, but I can't tell you how many parents I know in our lives. They're probably even listening to this, and I talk to them, and I'm like, oh yeah, I've spoken to Tom about sex, and Lara about sex, and we've talked about porn and certain elements and whatnot. And they just like, what do you mean you've talked about that stuff? And I'm like, you haven't talked to your kids? They're like 10 or 11, 12. Like, it's too late.
Yeah, like they already
It's too
have it.
late. And they don't believe me, and they're like, "No, no, 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 my kid would never." And I hear this all the time. "My kid would never." No, that's not my kid's just not in. I'm like, "Please stop being so naive." It's not that your kid is evil. It's not that your kid's a bad kid. It's just that your kid is surrounded by other kids, and this is what happens. And if you give them a
Mm.
device and you leave them alone on their device at any time, particularly if they're gaming, 100% if they've got social media, like this will have happened. They will have been exposed to something.
Well,
Um,
like an excellent, just very basic example of this is as I started sharing this testimony and talking about other elements of my life, I speak often about how I was exposed to cocaine at 13 years old, right? And I have been a very heavy like drug consumer, really struggled with it. And then in the later days before I found, before Jesus saved me, it was out of control, right? And my mom said to me, she goes, like, did you really do drugs? I was like, yeah. She goes, I just thought you would have known better. And I said, well, you never spoke to me about it. So how would I have known? She goes, I just thought you knew. And I'm like, but if you have never educated me on something, how do I know? And so then when I have people that are around me that are telling me this is good, and I've never had anyone tell me anything otherwise, so at 13, what do you think? I'm going to have the wisdom and knowledge to go, I don't know about this one. This kid seems kind of like, you
So
have to
true.
be active. And my mum was like, I just thought kids of like your age, because my oldest brother's 9 years older than me. So like we grew up in 2 different generations. She's like, I just thought kids of your age just like knew more stuff. And I'm like, Mum, bless your heart. No, you have to teach your kids
So
things.
naive.
Yeah, because if you don't, something will. And this is what I don't think a lot of Christians understand is you can't afford to be apathetic. You can't afford, because if you're not instilling biblical values into your child, something is going to instill values in your child. It's not null and void. It's not like that seed is empty. Something will fill it, and it's not going to be something you want. So you can't sit here in this world, yeah, unfortunately, and think, well, my kid's not going to, or even we grow up in it. We go to church on a Sunday. My kid knows better. He goes to like kids' church, because if they have a device, they are going to be inundated with hypersexualized content. We had experts that would study algorithms, and they would send us very curated, specific content that we would get the girls to recreate, because we knew that it wouldn't just go viral, it would go mega viral. We were getting girls on like
Wow.
one video, it's like 2.2 million views in like 7 days on one video. So you can't negate the reality of this. And so, yeah, I just think that it's one of the most important things. Christians need to not be reactive. And then when their child's 18 years old and they have a severe porn addiction, and maybe they're trying to get married and they're in this really hard situation, which I hear about all the time, then you're like, oh, let's help. How do you be preventative? Because as we said before, there's so many things that you can do if you just bite the bullet and have a raw and honest conversation early that could literally change the trajectory of your child's life.
Yeah. And constantly have that. This
Hmm.
is well, like, and I say it all the time on this podcast, discipleship is not just one moment. It is
Yeah.
an ongoing discipleship is lifelong. It doesn't stop when your kids are 18. It continues on. You know, my mum continues to disciple me. Jesus is never finished discipling us until we are in the fullness of heaven. You know, and I think and I like to think it continues then as well. We still learn more about him. But I this is the thing. It's like you can't have just one conversation and think that's it. No, you need to be talking about this stuff constantly. And
Mm,
and just to add to your point when you were saying, you know, you had this companies that would, you know, look at the algorithm and help you create content that would go viral. These are companies that have money at their disposal to target specifically your children. So you
mm,
know, like thinking about that, you know, and so if these companies can invest millions of dollars, not necessarily maybe that, but like there are companies that invest millions of dollars to create content that gets your children hooked and watching or wants to desensitize them to something or just wants to, you know, inappropriate content to go out far and wide, then we need to be working extra hard to educate and make our children aware of that
mm.
and to know that that is what we're up against.
Yeah,
Um,
totally. Like,
it's terrifying at the same time, if I'm being
it
honest.
is in a micro way, because yes, there is a $97 billion pornography industry that is targeting, and it's all for money. At the end of the day, this is what people have to understand.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yes.
like, yeah, it's literally all for money. So, okay, we now understand that there is this industry, which is a mega juggernaut industry that is targeting our children, but I have the authority. So, as my children, how do I even? A parent gave me this advice, and I just thought it was genius. And it might sound really simple to some people, but she goes, I pray to the Lord on for each of my children, how do I tailor make how I parent them? And so a
Love
very
it.
basic example of this is they were moving away, and they were living in like Melbourne City, and they were moving super far away, right? And she prayed to God, how do I tell my kids that we're taking them out of school? They're not going to have their friends anymore. We're moving somewhere else, and have them be excited about this. And so the Lord just showed her each of her kids, well, with this kid, show them that, hey, in Melbourne, this is the type of house you can have, but out in the country, that's going to get them. Then another one, it was about sitting down and like getting them excited for the event, like whatever it was, right? And so it's like, that's how you take authority. It's as simple as that of, okay, God, this is a crazy situation with my children. Jesus, you know my kids better than I do. You created them.
That's
You
right.
gave them
They're
to
your
me.
kids. They're not mine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Lord, how do I navigate this? How do I take authority over this? How do I have this conversation with my child? We can give
Mm.
like these tangible baseline things. So, but if you truly are a believer, God's going to go, don't worry. This is how we do it. This is how we protect them. These are this is how it's going to. And I think that, again, so how do we be proactive? How do we be preventative and not be reactive? Like, we have all sorts of divine wisdom and power within our fingers. We'll see a lot of this within the next generation be totally different.
And I think, I mean, there is hope, right? So, like, I mean, I love what you're saying there because I also think where there is darkness, we bring forth light. So, just purely speaking the truth, speaking biblical truths about the way that God has designed them, the way that God wants his people to live out his commands and his plans and purposes on here on earth. That is bringing light into an incredibly dark and confusing place. But there is also hope. Like I've noticed, I don't know about you, but I feel like there's this shift generationally that's also happening where as OnlyFans is growing, at the same time, there seems to be this growing change generationally of like people pushing back on this sort of over sexualization and degeneracy in a sense. Like I have noticed that the growing trends at the moment of people coming to Christ and wanting the church, old school traditional church, are young men. They're
Cool.
tired. Yeah, it's awesome, right? And so that's where I'm like, oh, where the darkness is, the truth does prevail, and we're
Yeah.
starting to see that there is hope. I'm starting to see that this younger generation, they're done with it. They're over it. They see through it. They see how it lacks the substance that they're after. There's no purpose in it. There's no belonging. There's no long-term satisfaction, right? It's also fleeting. It's really fascinating to watch, but I am finding it is more the men, the young adult men are the ones statistically that are coming to the faith, which says to me, I'm like, what is going on with the girls? Like what is it that's,
Yeah. It's so I've been having so many conversations as of late. And I think God is being really kind in showing me just in this personal journey. I've been in America for the past 3 months, and just surrounding me with strong, healthy, biblical men. And he's just been showing me the the power in a man who fears the Lord, who has integrity, and what
yeah,
that does in turn. Because if you think about this, if you zoom out culturally, and I don't know how controversial this is going to be, but I believe it to be true. And you look at scripture and it kind of is. But if we just put this in very simple terms, you have men that in the past like 2 generations in this very extreme wave of feminism um become these guys that now it's like, well, a girl can sleep around like a guy and this and that and and so then guys are going, well, screw this. There's no value. I have no value because the culture tells me I have no value. So why wouldn't I act like a degenerate? Why wouldn't I consume porn? Why wouldn't I use you? But what does that do? That hurt man in turn hurts a woman. And then she feels diva. Well, I might as well just sleep around because that's all my value is. I might as well use you. I might as well have an OnlyFans account and make money off you because you use me anyway. And so we see that it's pitted against each other, right? And then
yeah,
that's how they'll sleep. And then there's kids involved, and then the kids get destroyed, and so we can see the ripple effects of that, right? But
yeah,
when you have healthy men with integrity and intention that go, no, 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 no. I don't see you as an object. I see you as valuable and something to be protected and something to be honored. And as a man, I want to step up. I want to be because men need that. They need different things to what women need. And we
I
have
need
to understand that.
responsibility.
They
Yes.
need a mission that's greater than
Yep.
themselves. And so when you can then see men that are now being so championed to, hey, there's another level here that can be unlocked. There's something greater within me. I'm not this loser um, pig that the world tells me that I have a place in this world and I have value.
Yeah.
Then it makes their desires different. So then they go, well, I don't want to sleep around with you. I don't want to watch porn. I know so many like men that are not of faith that have like just shattered drinking and porn because they're like, I don't want, that's not a man. I want
Yeah.
to be better and I want more. So then when we champion men, then men say, well, I'm not going to objectify you. I value you. Then what does that do? It makes a woman go, oh, wait a minute. I don't have to act in that way to be loved. Wait a minute. I don't have to dress in that way to be loved. Oh, wait a minute. There's a standard that I can uphold too. So then it's like you both incrementally now
Brings everyone up.
brings everyone up. But
Yeah.
unfortunately, if you have men that are like, you're only valuable for your body, and the only reason I'm going to give you attention is that, then women will be like, okay, well, this is the only way that I can get attention. So I think that it's really beautiful that we're seeing men really want traditional values because in turn, they raise the bar, then we raise the bar. And then you have more women of integrity, you have more men of integrity. And it's like this beautiful dance, of just
Yeah.
higher standards. And it's all it's all biblical. It's all pointing to Jesus. And that's why I think, as you said before, there is so much hope. But we can accelerate this journey by being proactive now, and remembering that we have all of, not some, like some people, like there's no baby Holy Spirit, there's no baby authority. So take it and walk in it.
And he's given you everything you need. He's equipped you to be able to carry out the mission.
Mm,
Like he's given you the word of God that is sharper than a two-edged sword. If we could, speaking into that men thing, the responsibility we have as parents to raise the next generation, particularly our boys, to be these men is vital. Like if we can create a culture where we're talking about this stuff with our boys, it means they can have the integrity now as a 5-year-old as they're growing up to learn how to navigate this sort of stuff, to understand what honor means and
mm,
what respect means, not just for themselves, but obviously for women. It means the little girls are seeing little boys doing that early on. That's huge.
it's huge.
That's a massive generational shift.
Yeah.
Huge.
Yeah.
And like you said, thanks to extreme feminism, which don't get me on that note, but
But it's so
not a fan.
it starts. I had someone like I just thought of two things as you were talking about that, but um I had someone tell me that revival starts with families. And it's like revival starts in the home. It's not from a pulpit. It's not from a growing social media presence. It's not from revival because if you can't, we're a body, we're a family. If you don't know how healthy family operates and functions, you're never going to understand how to steward that like in your greater calling. And I'm even seeing that of like revival starts in the home, and when you have a united nuclear family, that's dangerous, you
Oh,
know.
especially in today's culture and world. Yes.
And
So
that's
dangerous.
where change comes from. And then even like as you're talking about generationally, I couldn't help but think about I have two older brothers and my middle brother is a first time dad. And um we're watching with my little nephew Lucas, he's about to be 2. The way my brother is so beautiful with his acts of service, right? And so he's so tentative to my sister-in-law and all. And it's so cute because now we're like, Lucas is doing that. And like in his own little baby way, he gets my sister-in-law to like sit down and he brings her a little cup of like things and he like and you just notice it. And again, it's this the way our children will imitate us. And I'm like, that's so beautiful that my nephew gets to see the way that my brother just loves on my sister-in-law with these acts of service. And now my little nephew is doing that for his mum because he's learning that's how you treat someone.
Yeah, it's so
Yeah.
good.
It's so cute.
Yeah, and it is, and that's why fathers are so important. And
Mm,
I say this a lot, and I've got Katie Faust coming on soon to talk about, the importance of putting children first in our decision making. And this is why I've done episodes on IVF and infertility and stuff like that, how we need to be considering the impact of what both parents play in children's lives, and how it's so
Yeah.
important that the decisions we make involve both parents. They are so vital to a healthy upbringing for a child. Now, I know there's situations in life where some people listening are going, well, I've divorced, or a spouse has passed away. I'm talking about in making decisions. They're things that happen out of your control, and God works through that. But that's why I'm like, it's so important as well that the church, men in the church, step up to be the father roles to these kids that don't have that. Like,
Yes.
what an opportunity so many men in the church have that they don't realize for these single parents or, widowers or widows, that struggling, that don't have a father figure. What an incredible opportunity guys in the church have to these kids, that are missing that. It's so vital that they have that.
Oh,
Um,
as it was so funny, like you took from my brain what it's Holy Spirit. No, but it's there's again coming back to this thing of, and I've been going through the book of Acts. I actually just finished the last chapter today, and in the early
we
church,
just finished Acts.
oh no way!
We read the whole Bible every year, or a bunch of listeners and me.
Yeah.
And we just did Luke and Acts as a short interim as we start the new Bible. We start the Bible on Monday again. But anyway,
Oh no way! Yeah,
yeah,
that's fun.
finished
So cool. Oh, you're going to be having a nerd out with this, but
Yeah.
I just love, and I've been so pondering on like the body and what that looks like, because you have a look, especially in like the early chapters of Acts, and it's like they all came together, they sold everything and gave to who had need. And
Yeah.
even in my church currently, a couple weeks ago, one of the pastors was talking about from altars to tables. And so it's like, how do you go from being like this person that's like at the altar to then sitting at a table with another member of the family that's like helping and guiding you through life? And it's like, that's what the early church would have done. It wouldn't have been that there was, these little groups and cliques and all these things. And like, I even see such division between understanding brothers and sisters in Christ, and it's like, wait a minute. Like having older, as you were saying, it's like, because someone might be here and be like, well, that's so unrelatable. I didn't have a dad, like, or I don't have a partner or whatever. But again, it's the body. And again, revivals, it's family. Because when you have such a burning within your heart to go, okay, that new believer, that single mum, what insert XYZ human, I want to help and love them. Like I have spiritual parents, and literally they'll sit there and they'll be like, God has taken us through all this crazy stuff. And now we're in our 70s, so we can help and we can sow into you and we can invest in you. And they care about that. They pray for me. They talk with me. They encourage me. They guide me. And it's like, but we all have the capacity to do that as well. Like, it's not that, well, I haven't, if you're even like a couple steps ahead of someone, like, go at it. If you've been saved for like 6 months and someone just comes into the church and you're like, hey, I know it's really overwhelming. I was literally just there. Do you want to come hang at our life group? Do you know how to read the Bible? Like, it's really weird, isn't it? Like,
Let's learn together. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like, and that's where, again, we're going to see this unity. Because it's needed, because when you have a united family, you might not have a physical dad or a physical partner. You can have a spiritual dad, but then that's also going to heal your relationship so much with understanding that God is your father. And then again, that's when you're a dangerous person, like in the best way possible. And that's when, we'll see this culture shift. You'll see, it won't go from a revival within the church, but it goes to an awakening in our nations.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's those generations, right? It's they're the ones that are going to carry that flame. So I guess, well, going back to, because we haven't even done your testimony yet.
I know. How did this girl go from selling porn to talking about revival?
But so how long were you at the agency for?
Oh, no.
Very long.
It was like 6 months unofficial, because you guys have to remember that it was a startup. So like we had no contract.
Yeah.
paid on the books, I lasted like 5.5 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. Right. So my question then is, what happened? Like, so what? So do you have like, yeah? How did you? What happened?
What happened? Well, working at the agency, as I've already explained, I was doing all the marketing, and I hadn't jumped on the back end of OnlyFans yet. Now, as we know, the whole allure is that you're messaging with someone, and we now know that agencies pretend to be the girl, right?
Yep.
So, what we had come to realize though over this period is that if you've got the OnlyFans account manager doing all the account managing, and then you've got me doing all the marketing, but you're the subscriber, right? So you're talking to the girl on OnlyFans and then you're talking to her on social media. But us as management, we're not communicating. Well, the subscriber starts to see holes in the story. So then they're like, is it really the girl? Is it really you? And so we went, oh, we have to change the structure of how we do things. So that's when we went, okay, let's split the girls in half and do the full life cycle. So now you're doing less girls, but you're doing account management, marketing, recruitment,
A
everything,
whole
right?
lot. Yeah.
So that's when I first jumped on the back end and I actually started to see what we were doing. And now I've actually never been a consumer of pornography. So I'm actually being exposed to porn for the first time. And it's people that I now know, it's people that I built relationships with.
Yeah.
And
That's
so,
jarring. That's huge.
yeah. So the like only way I can really explain it for people is I'm like, I just felt like my brain was malfunctioning. I'm like, I'm crying every single day. I can't open up my laptop. I'm really, really struggling. And I just was like watching these acts, but I'm like, you're really kind. You're really generous. Like, you're super funny. Like, you have great family values. And this is what you're doing. Like,
Just a
again,
total disconnect, hey? Like,
yeah, I'm just malfunctioning. Oh, that's it. And so at this point, as I'd kind of mentioned, we're throwing these parties. I've talked about, substances and everything. So now I'm at the point where like I'm staying awake for days, right? And so now the drinking's not working, the drugs aren't working, the cigarettes aren't working, nothing's working anymore. Nothing makes me feel good, nothing's numbing it anymore. I'm going to these extreme levels with substances that I've never done before. And like something has to break, something has to give, right? And so I was like, okay, well, nothing's making me feel better anymore. Nothing's working. Maybe if I do a big enough act of good, it'll offset all the bad that I'm doing and it'll make me feel better about myself. And as well as while we were building this OnlyFans agency, we were actually building a medicinal cannabis company. So my educational background was in like psychoactive psychotherapy and alt medicine. So that was like my dream business, right? So I was like, oh, well, maybe if I go overseas and help a bunch of refugees, by the time I come back from helping them, which is a big enough act of good, it'll offset all the bad. It'll make me feel better about myself. And then the cannabis company will be up and running. And then I don't have to work at the OnlyFans agency anymore. Genius.
right.
Like I'm so smart. Right? And so I just turned 25. So this was it will almost be 2 years. I think in July, it'll be this month, it'll be 2 years, I think.
Okay.
So that's crazy. Sorry. That was like a moment for me. I was
It's
like,
wicked,
whoa.
isn't it? That's cool.
So I had this like random memory and I was like, oh, that church that I went to as like a kid had like a refugee program. And so I didn't go to church since I was like 8 years old, to say. So it's been a very, very long time. Um,
You didn't have a Christian upbringing.
like Christian. It's like we didn't
Yeah.
swear
Like,
and said grace at the table, but there was unfortunately nothing in my life
and you
that
go at Easter, like, were you going to church regularly or not really? No.
nah, like as I said, stopped when I was like super young. And my memory
Yeah.
of going to church was like we would rock up late because they
Yeah.
did like worship and would leave early and like all of that.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah.
So yeah, very a
Um,
very religious, minimal. Yeah,
yeah.
more ethical. Yeah.
But actually, okay, I know that we're like in my testimony, but there's something really powerful within even I feel the limited exposure that I had because
Yeah.
and I found because I thought that this story was fake and that like maybe I had made it up. And then coming into faith, I actually found out that this story is real and it blew my mind. And it just goes to show like the bigness of God. And just anyways, so as I said, limited exposure in church, right? But I always had this memory growing up that I like must have been like 5 years old, like really, really little. And I remember being in this auditorium and like sitting at the front of a stage. And there was someone on stage who was telling this story in like a kids' church about how a gunman had come into a Christian school and pointed a gun at a little girl's head and said, "Denounce Jesus or I'm going to kill you." And she said, "Shoot me." And the gun didn't go off. And it was this like crazy story of faith. And so growing up my entire life until I actually met Jesus, whenever these conversations, I'd be like, I don't know, I believe in God. Like if you told me like that you're going to shoot me, I'd probably say shoot me because like I just know God's real. Like I always had this, but I thought it was a real
So
story.
interesting.
Then I
Yeah.
faith, and I found out that that was a real story. It was the Columbine shootings that happened in America, and this was a global
Oh,
story of a little girl who did that, and the gun didn't go off. And I was like, "Wait, what?" So
that
God
is cool.
used this, like, seed of faith in me at, like, 5 years old through this
Yep.
story. And so I always just had this thing of, like, no concept of Jesus, but God, I always just knew was real. So,
Yeah.
yes, I just think that's crazy cool because God's just
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
But so now I have outreach to this church. Well, what I did is I Googled this church that I went to as a kid, and I filled in this, like, application for, like, an outreach program. And so what had happened was that application for the outreach department never actually went to the outreach department, but instead the young adults pastor got an email and it said, "Victoria wants to reach out to the church. Here's her number. Call her." And I saw this email months later, right? Um, and so I get a call one day from like this young adults pastor and she goes, "Hey, I heard you want to come down to the church." And in my mind, I was like, "Oh, I guess this is just like the vetting process that Christians do. Like, I don't really know." So on a Thursday, I remember rocking up to church and I remember like sitting in my car, being at the front of this church, like voices screaming in my head, like, "You can't go in there. You're going to burst into
Go in
flames.
there.
Like, such a bad person. Like, don't go in there." And so I remember just sitting there and I was just like, "Victoria, like, there's someone waiting for you. Like, you just have to walk in there." And so I end up sitting for hours with this young adults pastor and I'm word vomiting to her, like, "Oh, I sell porn. Everyone says that it's good. I feel like it's bad. Like, help." And she was so wonderful. She just goes, "I
Wow.
really think you should come to church this Sunday. I think you'll really resonate with the guest speaker." So I rock up to church on a Sunday and the guest speaker in church is talking about porn, is talking about OnlyFans, and it's Melinda Takard Reese. You know
Oh,
her. But
yeah,
like,
yeah, yeah.
and it blew my mind, like and she said this line, and it just
Wow.
clicked everything. Yeah, imagine hearing Melinda, who is just, like, the most gangster woman ever. She's straight shooter, tells it as it
Great
is,
point.
and she goes into schools, and so she sees what's happening. And I work at an OnlyFans agency. And so God's just wild, but, she said this one line, and that's what clicked everything, and I didn't understand it at the time, but she goes, "Christians are supposed to be the salt and the light of the earth, and they have failed, and we are destroying the next generation." And it did something within my heart. And I just went, "Oh my gosh, this is wrong." And so I'm like
Mhm.
balcony, like at the back, right? And when she finished speaking, I literally ran up to her and I said, I said, "Hi, my name's Victoria. I work for an OnlyFans agency and I hate myself." And she was so beautiful. Melinda literally just goes, "Let's have lunch." She didn't condemn me. "You're going to burn in hell. You're a bad." She literally goes, "Let's have lunch." And so Melinda sat with me for hours and she answered my questions, ethical porn, positive, liberating, all the things, right? And literally, I left that conversation that was on a Sunday. By the Friday, I walked away from the agency. I quit. 8 weeks later, I'm sober,
Wow.
I'm baptized, and literally, honestly, every single day since then, we've been talking about this, and it's been almost 2 years now.
So cool. Wow. Praise the Lord. I love so much. Like, Jesus is so great.
Yeah,
It's just amazing to see how he just pulls people in. And this is what I always say to people. I'm like, the seeds that are sown, you just don't know. Like, you need to be faithful in sharing your story and
yeah,
sharing stories, testimonies, like that testimony of that young girl, because you just don't know. This is the power of testimonies. This
yeah,
is why I love hearing people's stories, because it's in Revelation 9, it says, and it overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and the testimony of the saints. You know, it's testimony of the saints that have gone before us and our stories that overcomes darkness and evil and sets people free. Like, how good is that? How was the agency when you quit, by the way?
Yeah, I
Did you
guess
explain it to them, or they just like, oh, whatever?
I think that people like, so no, unfortunately they did try to sue me and like all these crazy things happened. They threatened me. But I think that people have to understand as well is like in 5 days, I went from being who I was to saying, this is wrong. We can't. 5 days, it changed.
Amazing.
I'm talking about Jesus now. I'm saying that it doesn't make sense. So of course, to people who have no grid for faith, they're going to go, what just happened? Like 2 days ago, you're all for this. Now you're all of a sudden saying, now you're speaking out. Now you're saying that what we're doing is bad. Mate, couple weeks ago, you're here with me, like doing all of this stuff. Like it doesn't make sense. So I can totally understand why, honestly, they like, just to put it bluntly, they probably, well, I know they really don't like me. But,
Yeah, no,
but
definitely.
like not fair enough, but how do you comprehend someone radically encountering Jesus and changing their life? I can't imagine how weird that is.
Yeah, it's so foreign and so strange, but it's such a beautiful. I love that imagery of just how that fast and radical that transformation is. You know that, and I guess we say it's fast and radical, but like the fact that you were feeling convicted and feeling icky about it. You know, God's already working, right? You know, it wasn't just
Mm,
instantaneously, but the transformation that takes place when the Spirit is dwelling within us. It's incredible. I'm just so
yeah.
encouraged by your story. It's so good.
Oh, isn't he
And
the
it's so good that you're
best?
speaking out on this because, and I wanna just say as well, like, you know, I imagine some people in my audience be going, "Oh, well, you know, you're still younger in the faith, and it's you're newer, whatever." But it's like this is what's powerful is you don't sit there and wait till you're 20 years down the track and then speak out about this sort of stuff. Like,
Mm,
what's so powerful about this is that you're sharing it now in the beginning stages of your faith. It's only going to mature and deepen as you go on in time. But
yeah.
like being able to share it now is so important. I don't want people to sit there and think that you need to have spent 10, 15 years studying the Bible before you can speak out on tricky topics like this. Like, no,
Well,
have the
immediately,
light.
yeah, immediately what came into my mind was the woman at the well. It says that literally she encountered Jesus, and then she went
Went
and
out.
an entire town was saved. And
Yeah.
so I think that people like this is like an it's by nothing, not by might nor by power, but by the Spirit of God. But when you take the simplicity of going, okay, Jesus, if you, I'm committed to this thing now, so I have no other option but to believe that your word is true. That's it. I think some of the things I was actually talking about this the other day. So maybe for people that are hearing this, I feel like there's two elements to this. Number one, do not disqualify someone, yes, because they're new in their faith. There is, of course, a process of sanctification. That is a non-negotiable, right? But
But we all are. To
we're
think that
all,
that is in the
yeah.
first step is naive. Yeah.
And like I think that God can do whatever God wants to do. You look at Girls Gone Bible, they were still having sex and they're this mega platform, but God sanctified them and it doesn't excuse sin. Don't hear what I'm not saying. But
Mm.
I think that what God did with me, which was so kind, is he gave me the revelation of the harder you go in to repentance, the more, mate, things will happen, right? It's so through again the wisdom of pastors to say I would say things in the beginning phases, like between like finding Jesus and then getting baptized. I think I bended drugs 3 times. I rocked up to church high on coke once, but I was so honest about these things, and I was like, I would say to my pastors, I do things that I don't want to do. Like why? And the things I do want to do, I don't do. Like I wonder where we've heard this before. And so then I've just been reckless in not pursuing a platform and not pursuing fame or whatever it is. It's a cry within my heart to see people not fall for the lies that I did. But I've been reckless in pursuing Jesus. My heart is broken. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry that I did this. I'm so sorry that I did that. I can't. Can you heal me? Can you help me? What do I need to rip out of my heart and replace with you? And so
Yeah.
this has just been, I think, the biggest lens that God has been so kind as to have is be ruthless and be undeniable with your healing journey. It's in the slowing down. Like,
Yeah.
it's in the operating from rest. It's not in the I have to do all these things, but it's prayer, fasting, taking the Bible at its word, getting lost in the scriptures and asking God to bring me mentors and pastors for guidance and wisdom and reading my Bibles, be reckless and undeniable with saying, Jesus, I need more of you. Help heal my heart. And weirdly, in turn, somehow when you pursue Jesus more, the things just
Uses
think,
you. Yeah.
you know.
And he'll use you in ways that you don't expect, like, this is the
Yeah.
thing as well, like, you can plan all you like, but God has different, bigger, better ideas of what needs to happen in your life, and so that what you're saying, that submission to him, submitting your will, submitting your plans, submitting everything means you're gonna walk in a manner and worthy that's worth his time and his glory, so, um, amen to that.
Yeah, yeah. I'm kind of learning that. So many people, there is such a hustle culture in the church, and that's a
Yeah.
different conversation in itself, but there's such a striving, and people might look at people on a podcast and be like, I want that, or no, you don't. You want what God has for you. Like being on a platform and being on a pulpit or being on a podcast is not the pinnacle of um, success in this
Oh,
faith
it's a lot of
pulpit.
stress.
And it's, well, yeah. And we're not called to fame and to glory. And if you
No.
our Christian walk is crushing because Jesus literally had to be crushed to be revealed. So I just think, anyways, that's another tangent for another day. But yeah, I just hope that's encouraging for some people. Anyways, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think your story is, and I think it's been encouraging as well, listening to that from a perspective as parents. There's a lot of women that listen to this that are mums. And
Mm.
so hearing your story, yes, it helps the younger generation to be aware of what's going on. It helps those that are youth leaders in church, maybe ministry leaders, pastors, whatever, whoever are listening, grandparents as well, listening to this, to be aware of what it is we are facing and what the culture and the trend is, particularly online. But also just, it's so encouraging for us to hear your story and the stories of other women that have gone through similar or coming out of similar, to be like, yeah, God is at work, and we just got to keep on faithfully praying and faithfully preaching the word of God and trusting that those seeds will be sown and will be planted and will take root. What is it? Um, the harvest is ripe, but the workers are few. We just need to keep on raising up that next generation of workers that are going to pull in that harvest, right?
Mm.
It's happening and it's exciting. It is exciting. I
Yeah.
feel better after our conversation.
Oh, amazing. Praise
I
the
think it's sometimes,
Lord.
I look at, like, I saw, Bonnie Blue coming out with and Annie Knight, all these different OnlyFans girls that, are popularizing sleeping with so many men in a short period of time and
Mm.
ending up in hospital sometimes, and you just get heartbroken, and it can feel very hopeless when you see that happening around you, but understanding that, like you
That's
said,
so
we
true.
have the power to we have
Yeah.
the authority and the hope and the life to breathe into our kids and to have these conversations and to help raise the next generation to be better and to discern it. Imagine if we could teach our kids discernment, wow, what a
Mm.
gift, So, it's been helpful having this conversation. I really like it.
Oh,
Yeah.
hey, thank you so much for having me.
So where can people find you? Like, if they want to find out more or updates about what's going on, like, is social media just the best, or?
Yeah, the best ways to be able to find me would either be, my Instagram, which is victoria.sinus. I also have I just started a YouTube channel. So
Yep.
that's Creating Gems, with Victoria Sinus. Or you can hang out with me on TikTok as well, because that's where it gets
Okay.
like a little wild and unhinged. And that's just vic.sinus, which is the best.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I set up a TikTok and I never did anything with it. So
I love TikTok. It's unhinged in the best way possible.
is it? Yeah, okay, good. Maybe I need to get on board or something. I don't
Yeah.
know. All right. Well, thank you everyone for listening. Look, if this has been a helpful episode, make sure you share it with your friends and family. It's the best way to get it out. And look, like I said, you can find Victoria everywhere she just mentioned. I'll link it all in the episode notes. Make sure you subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube, and otherwise leave a review. That'd be really helpful. But yeah, have a great week. Thanks, Victoria.
Bye.